What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, many people have reached out to me and asked me if I saw or heard with two-time junior middleweight world champion, currently the unified junior middleweight world champion superstar boxer, Jermell Lions Only Charlo, who is 34 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 18 wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, 5'11", with a 73-inch arm reach. He'll be 32 in the month of May. With that said, Jermell Charlo was asked about possibly fighting fellow stablemate, friend, and undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol "The True" Spence Jr., who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. 27 wins, no loss, no draw. 21 wins by way of knockout. Errol Spence is 32 years of age, 5'9.5", with a 72-inch arm reach. He's going into a massive unification showdown April 16th, in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Dallas Cowboys Stadium, against WBA welterweight world champion Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas. Okay, 3 belts will be on the line. So Errol Spence, in promoting his fight, is doing a lot of interviews. He's being asked about the future, the current time, the Yordenis Ugas fight. What about the possibility of fighting his biggest rival in Terrence Bud Crawford? And he was asked if he would go up to junior middleweight 154 when Errol Spence stated he was done with welterweight a long time ago. He got 2 fights left in the division. Then he's moving up to 154. Now, obviously, Jermell Charlo is trained by well-renowned trainer of the year, Derrick James, who also trains Errol Spence Jr., okay? And he was asked about, if Errol Spence move up, Jermell Charlo was fighting Brian Castano in the highly anticipated rematch for Undisputed at junior middleweight May 14th, okay? And so if he moves up and he's looking to become a champion, the roads will have to lead through Brian Castano or obviously Jermell Charlo, who's favored in the fight. And Errol Spence, he stated that he wouldn't mind fighting Jermell Charlo. He stated that, they're friends, but if friends fight each other, especially for the right price, so he'll definitely fight Jermell Charlo, okay? And so in response, Ellie Setback, ES News, he did an interview. He was interviewed by Ellie Setback, and he was asked about fighting Errol Spence. And it's being reported that Jermell Charlo said that he already beat Errol Spence in the amateurs, and he'll do it again, so on and so forth, right? And so I'm getting people asking me if I saw the response from Jermell Charlo to Errol Spence Jr. And so I watched the interview. And what Jermell Charlo stated was not that he beat Errol Spence twice in the Olympics, but he stated that they fought in the amateurs, okay? I mean, excuse me, not that he beat him twice in the amateurs, but they fought in the amateurs. And he stated that Errol Spence is a dog. He stated that Errol Spence has a huge ego. He stated that, that was when he was in juniors. He's obviously younger than Errol Spence. He's a couple of months younger than Errol Spence. Errol Spence's birthday in March. His birthday is in May. So he stated that, they was in the juniors. It don't even count. So he don't even think about it. And he said that, don't get it twisted. Errol Spence has an ego just like everybody else. Errol Spence is a dog, but he's focused on Brian Castano. Okay, so I never heard people saying that Jermell Charlo said he beat him twice. Okay, he didn't say he beat him twice. I didn't hear that part. And he stated that, it was in, the amateurs. They fought once. Ellie asked him who won, and he stated that he didn't even give a response as to who won, right? He just said it was a tough fight between the two, okay? And so with that said, he said it was entertaining, it was a tough fight, but he never gave a response as to who actually won the fight, okay? And so obviously Errol Spence is not opposed to fighting Jermell Charlo, but Jermell Charlo clearly doesn't have much interest in fighting Errol Spence Jr. This is not the first time Jermell Charlo was asked about fighting Errol Spence Jr. And he's kind of sidestepped the the possibility of fighting Errol Spence Jr. So listen to what Jermell Charlo had to say, okay? He clearly, again, he has no interest in facing off against Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence said it would be a massive fight if they fought each other. Errol Spence, he stated that, especially in Texas, and this is something Jermell Charlo, he responded to as well. He said that Errol Spence rules Dallas. Obviously, he's from Houston, so he says Errol Spence rules Dallas. He says that Errol Spence is a dog, and he has a big ego as well when asked about it. But I didn't hear in this that he said that he beat him twice. So listen.
Cocky too. Don't get it fucked up, Earl. Earl's humble. He humble, but he got.
So he says that Earl is humble, right? Just, but he's cocky too. He got an ego as well, as all fighters do. All fighters do. You understand what I'm saying?
You run Dallas boxing. When is the first time you met him? Do you remember? How many years ago? Long time. Before the Olympics? Yeah. Me and Earl fought each other in the amateurs. You fought? Who won?
So he said, me and Earl fought in the amateurs. He said, now Ellie's going to ask him who won.
We had a good, tough fight. You know what I mean?
So he said, we had a good, tough fight.
Nothing to brag about him, he talking about me. No, amateurs don't count.
So he said, nothing to brag about, nothing to talk about.
Oh, you fucking care about that shit. I was in the juniors, too.
So he said, I was in the juniors.
He was young. Earl was just getting going, too.
He said Earl was just getting going as well, and Errol Spence is a stud.
He started boxing at a late age, quote unquote, 16, and he's
that's my dog.
Number 2 on my pound for pound list.
And then Jermell Charlo goes in being humble. Jermell Charlo's being humble when Ellie's asking him about the pound for pound list, where he has him ranked at the pound for pound list. And he said he don't care if he's on the pound for pound list or not. So I didn't hear Jermell Charlo. Maybe it's a different interview. Maybe it's a different clip. This is the only one I saw of Ellie asking him about Errol Spence Jr. And this is the only response I heard Jermell Charlo speak. So, maybe somebody or whoever reported it and stated that he beat him twice or whatever may have you, because people are in my inbox, overwhelmingly amount of people saying that Jermell Charlo responded to Errol Spence and he said he beat Errol Spence twice in the amateurs and there's no need to fight. I didn't hear that part, okay? I did hear him say that they did fight in the amateurs. He didn't say who won or who lost. He just said it don't even count, and they had a good fight, and Earl is a dog, and on the top of it, he said he's my dog. So once again, he didn't give a direct response. Now, Errol Spence, when asked about fighting Jermell Charlo, he gave a direct response, right? He stated that absolutely he'll fight Jermell Charlo. And he stated that, it's a legacy fight, and if you're friends, then you fight me. He reiterated what Mike Tyson always says, what most recently Shakur Stevenson has been saying, that, if you're my friend, then you'll fight me, okay? You'll help me get this payday and bolster my legacy. So Jermell Charlo, he doesn't strike me like he have any interest in fighting Errol Spence. There's people that feel like they sparred. They had a few sparring sessions, and Errol Spence got the best of him in sparring sessions. So when Errol Spence got the best of him in sparring sessions, Jermell Charlo is avoiding fighting Errol Spence now because of those sparring sessions. He's staying clear of Errol Spence. That's the reason why he doesn't answer and respond to Errol Spence. I think that Jermell Charlo just respects their friendship, their relationship, okay? Whether they're close as, they say, or maybe they're not as close as they say. Who knows? Only they know, right? But I just think that Jermell Charlo, he respects their relationship. He don't want to talk about it. There's no need for him to talk about it, especially right now. Errol Spence is 2 fights away from moving up to 154. Jermell Charlo has to get through fighting, right now, have to worry about fighting, get through Brian Castano, who with the first fight ended in a draw. And then, like Jermell Charlo said, I'm pretty much cleaned out the division. So, there's still fighters at 154 that Jermell Charlo could possibly face at 154. You got Tim Tszyu there. That's a possibility. Erickson and Hammer Lubin is making a return. I don't think that fight ever got started, okay? He knocked out Erickson Lubin, but I never felt like the fight actually got started. I thought Lubin got clipped with a punch he didn't see, and he got knocked out, okay, before the fight even started, before either one of them even warmed up, right? So with that said, Lubin is making a comeback. He's going to fight Sebastian Fundora, the Tower Inferno. That's going to take place in 2 weeks, April 9th. I can't wait to see that fight. And, I just feel like Jermell Charlo may not even be at junior middleweight when Errol Spence get there. There's talks that Terrence Crawford can move up. He dismissed Terrence Crawford as well. Okay. He stated that, his mind is not on Terrence Crawford. He said that Terrence Crawford is a dog. He's just not made out of the stuff that they made out of, that being Jermell, and Errol. But he said Terrence Crawford is a good fighter. But he dismissed both Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford as he's focusing on his division, right? So Errol Spence 2 fights away. So let's say that Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence do fight next, which I expect to happen. I believe that Jermell Charlo may not even be there, okay? Let's say he fights the winner of Erickson Lubin and Fundora, okay? And then let's say he fights Tim Tszyu. What's left for Jermell Charlo to do at 154 at that point in time, right? If he beats Brian Castano, he's undisputed. He fights the winner of Fundora and Lubin, and he fights and beats Tim Tszyu. What's there left for him to do? Okay, he may move up, because you got to take into consideration Errol Spence has to fight Yadena Sugis to win that fight, the Terrence Crawford fight for Errol Spence, and then he's not going to go straight away into a fight with Jermell Charlo. Although he could, if he beats Terrence Crawford, he can make himself the mandatory for Jermell Charlo, because he would then hold the WBO, World Boxing Organization title. And the way they operate is, if you move up in to another weight class and you still hold their title, they make you the mandatory when you move up, a la Terrence Crawford, what he did with Jeff Horn, right? A la what Shakur Stevenson did with Jamel Henry. So he can do so, still maybe a fight away before he even gets that fight. So maybe Jermell Charlo is not even there. So Jermell Charlo dismissed Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford in response. And so I don't know where people got it that he said he beat him twice in amateurs and he don't need to fight him. So maybe it's a different interview that I'm not privy to. That's a strong possibility. But I'm going off of what Ellie said back. Everybody sent me the video of Ellie interviewing Jermell Charlo and asking me what I thought about Jermell Charlo's response to Errol Spence. I don't think much of it, because I just think he dismissed the possibility in the situation. He's focusing on the task at hand. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.